So my name is Debbie Dille, and I'm from Berkeley, California, USA. And we came here, my partner Vince and I came here to work in the community center. And why I chose to volunteer in Kathmandu, I had never been to Nepal before, and it sounded like an interesting program when I read about it on the internet, and it had the community service project that sounded interesting to us. I also knew that they had suffered a lot in the earthquake and that anything we could do to help would be greatly appreciated. The reason we chose community building is that's what Vince wanted to do, and I had done some community building in Nicaragua, so that sounded good to me too, and we wanted to work together. The most surprising thing about the program, I wasn't too surprised at how things were here because I had done work in Central America, and even though the culture is different, the same challenges in a developing country are the same. So I wasn't terribly surprised. The host family, I was pleasantly surprised. It was a really nice family. The food was really good. The only thing that surprised me is that all the volunteers were so much younger than we were, with one exception. So we didn't spend a lot of time with them, but they did give us some good tips, and that was good. So we were really fortunate to be here during a festival, so we got to share some aspects of the festival with the host family, and that was really, really exciting also to see all the lights and the boys caroling and the people dancing and the music. So I was really happy that we were here during that time. The most difficult thing of the program, at the beginning there was a little bit of downtime as we were trying to figure out where we could best do the work that was needed to be done. And once we got started, we have a lot of knowledge about painting. We were painting walls, we had to prep it. But the experience and tools that we knew how to use in California weren't available here. So trying to learn how to do it in a country that doesn't have all those advantages, that was a little bit challenging for us. As far as the host family, there were no challenges except in the morning when we're all trying to use the bathroom at the same time, and the host family is all trying to use their bathroom at the same time, so sometimes we were like lighting up waiting to go. As far as the country, I wasn't very surprised about anything, but there was a lot of mud and garbage. The streets were really rough, and it was also a challenge to learn to take the bus. I mean, not learning to take the bus was a challenge, but to figure out if you were on the right bus coming home or going where you wanted to go. As far as any tips for future volunteers, clothing, the internet, and the emails we got seemed to indicate that we needed to bring a lot of warm weather clothes, but it was really hot when we were here. So fortunately I had gone online and seen that it was going to be in the 80s in Kathmandu the first week we were here, so I brought clothes for that kind of climate, which was fortunate because it was never even cold enough to use a sweater. As far as sightseeing, most of our sightseeing will be later. We did hire a car and driver, but the traffic was really bad, so we saw less than we had expected. However, we did get to go to a place we would not have otherwise seen, so we were happy about that. Donations, we didn't understand that we were working at was going to be a community center and library. Had we known, we could have brought a duffel bag with 50 pounds of books, which we could have easily collected in Berkeley, and so I wish we had known that. As far as the laundry, I had brought quick dry clothes, so it was simple enough to wash them out and hang them up to dry. The internet was really good. It was down sometimes, but mostly it was up every day, so that was handy. Other things volunteers should know, the roads are really rough here, so it takes a long time to go a short distance. And when you try and walk along the roads, sometimes there aren't sidewalks and paths, so you're dodging oncoming vehicles, so that makes it a little difficult to walk. as far as the weather, it can get hot in October, as we found out. We also brought warm clothes because we're planning a trek after this, so we had to bring a big suitcase with both warm weather and clothes for warm weather and clothes for cold weather. Nothing in particular about the local people surprised me. The only thing was it's really noisy in the morning, starting about 4 a.m. with the bells and the roosters crowing. But once we got over jet lag, we slept right through it. Tours, most of our sightseeing is going to be done after. So we did, one day we hired a car and driver and went to Nagarko. And then another day we walked over and saw fields where they were harvesting rice, and that was really interesting. And Sadir took us on an interesting walk in the evening, right before dinner, and so we saw some other things there. And on our first day we had gone to Boda and seen the stupa and eaten lunch there. We took the language immersion class, which I really recommend. Although we only had 6 classes in the 2 weeks due to the festival cutting them short, we learned a few very important Nepali phrases. Obviously not a lot in 6 classes, but we also learned a lot about the culture from the teacher, and we really enjoyed working with her. Also, living in a local community is much more rewarding than staying in a hotel, because you really learn a lot about the culture and the community that you don't learn when you're in a hotel. The accommodations, we had a nice room, the bed was comfortable. The only hard part was sharing the bathroom in the morning when we're all getting up at the same time. The meals, Sarita was a really good cook, and so I was a little worried about eating Nepali food for 2 weeks straight, plus 2 more weeks that were here after the volunteer experience. But I really enjoyed her food, and I felt really good eating it. I didn't have any upset stomachs or anything. And the only restaurant nearby where we ate our lunch was really good also, and we tried all the different dishes on the menu, and not one of them was bad. Security was good here. There was a cabinet. There were a couple cabinets to lock things up in, so we're double and tripling locking things, so it felt like it was always safe. Plus, I don't think anyone could get into the house really anyway. The host family was really helpful. Sadir gave us a lot of knowledge about Nepali culture. Sarita taught me how to make her cauliflower dish, which is my favorite of all the things she made. And I was also reassured that if anything bad happened, we could count on them to get the help that we needed, like calling a taxi or getting medical care. Fortunately, we didn't need any of that, but we rested more comfortably knowing that it was available. So my memory of the trip was rewarding to do the work that we did. Also made me aware of how much harder it is for people who live in a culture where they don't have all the advantages we have in the U.S. On the other hand, there are advantages to living in a culture where people aren't so busy and driven as they are in the U.S. The host family, I will always remember their kindness and helpfulness, and we learned so much about them. The community. Nepal is a beautiful country, and the people were very warm and nice. Let's see. At the airport, we were really happy that there was a big sign with their names on it and a broader view, because we had been traveling for 36 hours, and when we stepped off the plane and saw the sign, we felt so relieved to know that we would be taken right away to our host family. Orientation day, we had the orientation in the morning. That was really good. Then Sarita took us to Boda on the bus, so we learned how to take the bus. We were able to exchange money because we had gotten in late the night before and the money exchange wasn't open. She also pointed out some sites to see, and we were able to look at the sites that day and have lunch and find our way back. The support was daily. We had food provided for us and directions on what we needed to do. We also got good advice from the volunteers who had been here longer than we were, like a map app and things that they had learned because they were from the States, so things that we would need to be aware of. the information received from a broader view prior. I think the main thing lacking was how hot the weather was going to be. They had said it would be between, the highs would be between 65 and 75, and they were in the 80s. So we needed to bring clothes for hotter weather, but we had done that. And I would be willing to speak with other potential broader view volunteers about my experience.